Well, it's a series that just keeps on giving, isn't it? DNA Family Secrets was once again on our telly last night. If you didn't watch it, I didn't catch it, but I've recorded it. And this is really bad because I'm about to give you some spoilers. I'm about to give myself a spoiler. Anyway, this time they've been helping Mel find her biological father.
So basically, I found out when I was 17 that I was born from sperm donation, and I would like to find my donor father or any siblings.
So you were born in 1975, weren't you?
Yeah, 75.
Okay. That was a time when it was completely unregulated in terms of donor conception.
Well, Mel and Leicester's genetic expert, Professor Cherie King, join us this afternoon. Hey, guys, how are you both?
Hello, thanks for having us.
Now, look, I'm gutted that I haven't seen the show yet. Got tied up with stuff at home last night, but I have recorded it because I like to sit down and watch it, if that makes sense. Mel, let's talk about your story in a second. What's it like to see yourself on the television going through what is a really profound experience? What does that feel like?
Yeah, quite scary. And yeah, I was quite anxious about seeing it, especially because I do a lot of crying. So it was an emotional roller coaster from start to finish.
Just before we came on, I actually had a natter with Cherie about the whole story. For those that haven't seen it, tell me a little bit about your case on the show.
Yeah, so basically, my mum and dad struggled to get pregnant, and they went to a fertility clinic in Manchester to use a donor. And the clinic promised that me and my brother would be from the same donor. And my mum told me when I was 17 that my father wasn't my biological father and that I was from a sperm donor.
Two things to sort of unpick there. One is, as Cherie said, that it was an unregulated thing in 1975. But learning that at 17, what did that do to you?
I was absolutely devastated. It just completely rocked my world. I felt like, my life had been a lie. I didn't know who I was, and it's a difficult age anyway, isn't it, then? So, yeah, it was a big shock to deal with.
Did it change your relationship with your parents?
No, not at all. I mean, once I got my head round it, I completely understood, and they were just desperate for a baby. They would have done anything. And they were advised to never, ever tell anybody. Nobody knew. They just kept it a complete secret.
Why did they tell you at the time, then, when you were 17?
Because my mum thought that I was nearly an adult and I had a right to know, and it was just better out in the open.
And the very fact that you're on this show would suggest that wanting to know your genetic background, if you like, remained very much front of your mind.
Yeah, completely. And more so, once I had my own children, it really made me want to know, because I look at them and the halves of me and my husband. And so that, made me even more curious. And also for medical reasons, when I go to the doctors, I don't know anything on my dad's side, when they ask the medical history and things, I know nothing. So that was another reason.
Cherie, what were the sort of logistics of finding out Mel's parentage?
Well, so what you can do is, like we do with all the DNA Family Secrets cases, where it's a sort of a genealogical question, is get the DNA tested. There's two companies that have got the biggest databases, so we usually test with those. They're also quite cheeky in that in order to get on their databases, you have to test with them. But once you've got that raw data, what you can then do is you can then download that raw data and you can upload it to a number of other websites and get yourself on the databases. And what we're looking for are matches that are not coming from Mel's mum's side. And actually, we got really lucky with this one because there were two very close matches on two different databases. But you went to one of them and he had an entire family tree on there, which included the person who was on the other database. So it took less than half an hour to be able to work out that Mel's biological father must have been one of three brothers. And then it's a case of going and talking to them. So one of them we knew had never donated sperm. One, we could tell from the DNA matching that this was Mel's first cousin. This chap would have been her uncle, so can't be her biological father. And that then led us to a chap called Gerald Ridyard. We got in touch with his son, Philip, who very kindly did a video for us, that Stacey could show to Mel. I mean, you're completely at the mercy of who's on the databases, but in Mel's case, we were incredibly lucky, and it took very little time. And in a way, that's quite interesting for people who gave their sperm thinking they were going to be anonymous. They can now be found.
Look, it is a pretty extraordinary thing, isn't it? And I know we've spoken about this before, and it doesn't always work like this, clearly. And there is an element of luck in it as to whether the databases contain the information you need. But it does seem to me incredible that people like Mel, who we're speaking to this afternoon, and others that you've done exactly this for, lifelong questions, in some cases well into people's 70s, as we were talking about last week, you solve the mystery of their life in a moment.
And the thing is, Mel was chatting about how, she was quite tearful. I was quite tearful. We were both tearful, weren't we?
Yeah, yeah, we were.
Because somebody's sense of themselves really shifts and puzzles fall into place. And quite often I can see, when I'm telling people this, I can feel the responsibility and you can see them processing. And Mel, it must be quite something because you're being given all of this information, having wanted to know for so long.
Yeah, it was just unbelievable. Yeah, I just felt so happy. I just wanted anything. So the fact that you could tell me everything that you did was just unbelievable.
And Mel, as far as connecting with the family that Turi's discovered, have you done that? Is that something you want to do?
My half-brother actually lived in Tasmania. So DNA Family Secrets very kindly flew him over to meet me, which was surreal and just beautiful.
Don't you think that this programme, Mel, has just a really kind heart to it? It's not built up for added drama and effect. It's just a really kind thing to do to people. Is that the way it feels for you?
Oh, absolutely. And from the start, I was really apprehensive when I started filming because I didn't want to cause anybody else any trouble. And I didn't know whether this chap had donated and then gone on to get married and not told his family, or I was really conscious that I didn't want to upset anybody else's family. And Minnow Films were just absolutely fantastic and just held my hand throughout and just made the process, so easy because it is such an emotional journey.
And as far as that connection with the family goes, was that instantaneous? Has that built up over time? What does it feel like?
Yeah, as soon as I saw him, it was so bizarre, I can't explain. But yeah, there was just an instant connection as soon as I met him, which is wonderful.
And is that ongoing?
We text and WhatsApp at least once a week. And yeah, he's coming back over to England and I've been over and met all the rest of the family. I'm so grateful because without Turi's wonderful expertise, I wouldn't be here.
Do you feel satisfied or does it feel like all the bits are in place in your life now?
Yes, completely. And it would have been wonderful. Sadly, Gerald died, so I didn't get to meet him. But I was never doing it because I wanted a dad. I've already got a dad that I'm perfectly happy with. I just needed to know where I was from. And so his son could fill in all the gaps. So I feel like I know him, even though I never got to actually meet him.
Mel, it's a joy to talk to you. It really is. I wish people could see the smile on your face. It's really lovely. Turi, look, I know that you are an incredibly thoughtful person and a very kind person. For you to be on this show and to be able to be making these differences to people's lives every week, what's it like for you?
Oh, gosh, it's a dream come true. I think what Mel was saying about Minnow Films is there's a huge team behind this. We have social workers and genealogists and psychologists and just the entire production team. We care. And I think that really comes across in the series, that we really care about our contributors and it's a joy to be able to do this sort of thing. It's great to have you both on the show. It really is. Turi, I know we'll talk again next week, but Mel, a huge congratulations. I think it's wonderful. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for having me. I hope you enjoy it when you watch it.
And look, and you've not cried either, so it's all good.
No.
We both managed to hold it together.
It's great to see you both. Thanks ever so much. Thank you. Have a great afternoon.